It's often said that truly great stories stay with you no matter how much time passes, and that even if they have been written years ago, there will always be people who love them. I certainly agree. And this isn't limited to great epics or classics like The Lord of the Rings or Shakespeare plays. Mary Poppins is timeless. Harry Potter is immortal. And I can't imagine a world where no one knows how the Grinch stole Christmas. Among the writers with such stories is Roald Dahl. His books are known for their charm, messages, and for having at least one moment when you wonder, how the hell is this supposed to be a kid's book? One of his novels is The Witches. It's a story about a boy who finds out that a group of witches is having a meeting at the same hotel where he is staying. Their leader, the Grand High Witch, has an evil plan to turn children into mice, so their teachers and parents will kill them. It's a story about facing evil, about love and acceptance, and not losing your true self despite what life might throw at you. In 1990, it got a movie adaptation. While it had its flaws, it remained true to the essence of the story, and to this day, many people still enjoy it. And because we can't leave the good things alone, a remake was bound to be made. The trailer made us wonder, how the hell is this supposed to be a good idea? Oh, but considering its predecessor and its original material, surely a remake would do its best, right? It was a rhetorical question. In Dr. Midnight, let's dissect the witches.
All right then. See, here's the thing about them. They're real.
Pack your things, mister. You're fired.
They're here. In every big city. In every small town. They everywhere!
Why don't you put out an APB for someone riding a broom and wearing a tall black hat?
At once, just by the way this guy talks, you can tell they are going to play this as safely as possible. While Roald Dahl was not afraid of scaring his readers, regardless of their age, this holy move wraps you in pillows while placing a cup of rainbows and marshmallows in your hands. Wusses. While the class is likely wondering what the principal was thinking when she allowed this guy in the school, we get a full lesson about how much witches hate children. After watching this movie, I think they have a point. Our protagonist tells us how his parents died when he was young, invoking the same emotional response I'd get from watch paint dry, I might add, and how he went to live with his grandmother, aka Octavia Spencer, aka the only good element in this movie.
I wouldn't hesitate to give a spanking if you deserve it.
Sadly, she didn't know how to give lessons on stop info dumping and let us know the character through her actions. Now, to be fair, this opening has some of the few scenes that do have some heart to them. I believe this kid is going through a tough time and his grandmother is trying to do whatever she can to help him. I was actually invested in what was going on. Don't get used to it. Days go by, our protagonist settles in, grandmother gets him a pet mouse. Things seem to be looking up. At least until the movie remembers that, oh yeah, we're supposed to have some witches around here. In their absence, this will have to do.
Do you like sweet?
Need a throat tablet there?
Well, sweet.
Yes, that knotting on your arm looks very sweet. I could be suffering from pink eye and a concussion and those effects would still look like crap. He tells Grandma about the lovely lady he met. She realizes that the woman was a witch, and that his parents never had the stranger danger talk with him.
Witches ain't nothing to joke about.
Why not? That's what this movie is doing. To give him an idea of how dangerous witches are, Grandma tells him about her best friend Alice. You see, one day Alice met a curious strange lady who gave her some candy.
Why don't you have a seat?
It turns out the candy had some feathery side effects. Now, besides that story about a girl who went missing and then appeared in a painting, The book had other tales about children who met witches, including of a girl who was turned into a chicken. So it's not a bad idea to do this rather than a copy and paste of the 1990 movie. However, there's nothing of that eerie feeling, not even a sense of loss or, well, anything.
Alice was chickenified, chicken-alified.
Aha, my best friend was turned into an animal people kill for food. But once a witch enters your life, she never leaves, which means trouble for a protagonist. Time to get the hell off Dodger. But not before we get this comment.
She might be a voodoo priestess.
Wow! Can't wait to see the payoff we won't get from this. Grandma calls her cousin and makes reservations at some fancy hotel. Uh-huh. And do you think this is a guarantee of safety because?
Ain't nothing but rich white folks at the Grand Orleans Imperial Island Hotel.
Are you listening to yourself?
She never listens to herself.
Witches only prey on the poor, the overlooked.
Sure, whatever floats your boat. They arrive at the hotel but have no idea that the witches have chosen this place for the yearly gathering. Right, so run away from a witch, end up in a hotel full of them. Isn't that like being on fire and trying to put it out with acid?
Come on, Gatsby. Let's go.
Oh, so he has a name. None mentioned until now. I assumed he hadn't one. No. They followed the book and kept the main character unnamed. Congratulations! Besides the overall main plot, you were actually faithful to one thing from the original material. If we only weren't butchering its other aspects.
If we're on the fourth floor, why is it number 766?
It's because the writers don't believe in subtlety. The witches finally arrive, including the Grand High Witch herself, played by... Nope. Nope. Sorry. Not happening. No way, Jose. Look, I like Annie Hathaway, but let's be honest. This is just not going to work. In 1990, the leader of the witches was played by Angelica Houston, and she was everything you'd think of when you hear the title Grand High Witch. She was dignified, she was imposing, she was a villain. Even when she was pretending to be a normal woman, there was something off about her. Now, I'm not saying that Hathaway is not a good actress. Lord knows the woman has talent. But she just doesn't have the same presence that Houston has. And you know what? I believe she would have been able to work past that. Come on, we have already seen actors who look as sweet as a baby bunny give us a terrifying performance. But that's the problem. The performance. You'll see what I mean soon enough.
Welcomes you and your lovely group of benefactresses.
However, I must say, I thought the Society of the Kushisaka Oda cosplayers would be coming only next week. But the manager doesn't quite like the Grand Prima Donna's cat. I don't either. He makes Garfield look as real as Gollum.
Mr. Stringy?
Stringer.
Hotel man.
Or a villain, everyone. A snobby cat lover socialite. Then again, I suppose any hotel would be terrified at the idea of having her as a guest. Meanwhile, Octavia Spencer is still trying to save this movie. There you go, lady. This ship has already sunk.
They're demons in human shape.
Yeah, we got it. Evil, hates children, kill with a bucket of water. She tells him how witches disguise themselves, such as always wearing gloves because they have claws and so on. However, they don't realize that the reboot version of Felix the Cat is watching them, and he goes to report it to the Grand High Witch. Wow! He must really love his owner if he's willing to stay in the rain like that. Don't get your hopes up, guys. She doesn't look nearly that cool. The next day, our hero meets another kid, Bruno. They talk for a total of a few seconds before Bruno is taken away by his mother. As for our protagonist, he decides to train his pet rat in an empty room. A room that doesn't stay empty for long. Also, apparently witches can smell children from afar, yet are rather blind. And now, for one of the biggest disappointments in a movie adaptation.
Remove your shoes.
Oh, how creepy, how unsettling, how utterly boring. Seriously, we went from that to this. If I were still invested, I would be annoyed. Even the pacing is off. They just take their disguises off and there's no close up. No time to take in the revelation of what they are or the danger the main character is in. Well, I guess this I can understand because honestly, there's nothing to really pay attention to. Oh look, a bunch of bald ladies with cleft hands and no toes. I'm so terrified, what? Both the book and the first movie adaptation did their best to convince you that, although witches can look human, they are like a different species. This isn't as easy to do as it sounds. It's not enough to say that a human-like character is actually this or that sort of creature. You need to make your audience feel that. You need to trick the brain to overcome that species recognition that nature has going on. Physical details, mannerisms, and gestures. In short, you need effort. The original adaptation? Those effects hold up to this day. Even when they are in disguise, you are convinced that they are not human. The performances were that good. This version, they just threw a bucket of CGI at everyone and called it a day. When the grandmother was describing witches, some details sounded creepy. It was like this was going to work. Well, some parts. I was at least curious. But then the scene happened, and it was just comical.
My blood ran cold as I started to get real scared. The bald head honcho who was standing right above me.
She's the Grand High Witch.
I was in a room filled with witches who hated children. I was a child, so I was very scared. I could be discovered at any moment. Oh, did I mention I skipped all my classes of show don't tell back at school? The leader of the Hocus Pocus Coven goes on about how she wants the witches to kill more children. In fact, she wants them to kill all the children in the country. Well, lady, times have changed. Stop making houses of gingerbread and start making houses of smartphones. In order to do that, she wants each of them to open a candy store, where they'll sell candies laced with a potion that turns people into mice.
And 3 drops.
Look, I know that the Grand High Witch had a temper and was loud and all, but she was still a villain. This is not even a convention of witches. This is a convention of every high school mean girl. I'm half expecting this lady to start discussing nail polish brands. See what I meant when I said the problem with Hathaway was the performance? Look at this. Is she planning the extermination of thousands of children or just training for the Paris Fashion Week? But she finally catches the scent of a child in the room and... oh shit, her nose is alive. It's going to jump off her face and run away from the movie. However, Bruno arrives, have eaten a bar of chocolate she gave him some time ago, and have been promised more, unaware that it was poisoned. Why, that's not concerning at all.
Where's my chocolate?
It's nice to see that the implications of what just happened have not distracted him from his main goal. Most kids have so little focus nowadays. The witch tries to kill him and... this happens.
I'll fetch him. Did you just talk?
This will be bad, right? The live-action versions of The Secret of Nin escape to the event but are found, along with our hero. They turn him into a mouse, or into a giant prune, but Daisy saves him. Yeah, I think this movie is turning into a cartoon. You know, for creatures who want to kill children that much, you're all kinda suck at it. The mouse children escape and take a moment to process what happened. You know, while the puppets weren't always perfect in the original movie, at least they were not that. I know it's a kid's movie, but that shouldn't be an excuse. Seeing how Grandma knows everything about witches, they try to go back to the room.
How exactly do we reach the button for the fourth floor?
With the power of convenience and cute shenanigans, apparently. They get to the room and tell Grandma what happened. Her grandson also introduces his new friends and explains that Daisy, his ex-pet rat, whose real name is Mary, used to be a kid as well. Grandma makes the question that we're all thinking about ever since Mary opened her mouth.
Why didn't you say something before, darling?
Because it can be very dangerous. I almost said something the other night, but I thought better of it.
Why? All you had to do was,
Witches ain't nothing to joke about.
don't I know it? You were conveniently sold as a pet to a boy whose grandma clearly knows about witches. That's the best thing that could have happened to you under the circumstances, and you talk better of it. No, you had no reason whatsoever to stay quiet. At least Alice couldn't talk anymore, and the witches want the children to be killed by the adults around them before they have the chance to say anything. What's your excuse? Honestly, can someone tell me what's the point of this character? Oh, so not only she's pointless, but she's also an idiot. Good. I so needed another reason to be annoyed. Grandma thinks that if she gets the potion, she can find a way to reverse its effects, so they need to get a bottle of it.
She's in room 666. We heard her tell all those witches.
Room number 666. Room 666. 666.
She was you think? He only said it about 1,000 times.
Movie, just because you know you're not invested enough to pay attention, it doesn't mean you can treat us as if we have the same memory span as Dory.
Ever since I was turned into a small mouse, little things don't scare me anymore.
You're about to go into the room of a creature who has magical powers and that wants you dead, and you're not scared? Oh, how brave! How courageous! How utterly idiotic. So he gets the potion. Cruella's devil cousin almost finds him, but she's distracted by the manager. You see, the hotel doesn't allow pets, so he tries to convince her to keep her cat in a kitty carrier. Good luck, man. She loves that cat. I doubted that she would. Who knew?
You can stand it!
Oh, so we're doing the reason why her pet will turn against her in the ending scene. For a moment I thought you'd leave that cliche out. I forgot I shouldn't hope. Ever. For anything. Grandma tries to re-engineer the potion and... Don't worry. As ridiculous as this movie is, it's not that dumb.
This witch's power is much stronger than me.
Just admit that the whole voodoo priestess and whatnot was just a waste of time, and this attempt at reversing the potion was a filler scene before they go with the drop the potion in the witch's food plan, okay? Our boy Mouse actually tries to look at the brighter side of things, and the grandmother assures him that she'll always look after him. This actually tries at least to approach the bookstone. But it would be a lot more touching if, you know, they weren't doing that in front of a boy whose parents are neglectful and an orphan girl.
I'm sure they love you.
My mother thinks I'm clumsy.
You're fortunate to have parents. Some of us don't.
One moment of almost invoking an emotional response and it's back to the norm. Look, I get they are trying to show how Bruno's parents don't care about him, so his staying with the protagonist and his grandma won't be seen as a bad thing. And Mary's just a pointless addition. But this movie treats it the way it treats everything else. Superficially. I'm not saying we need to spend half an hour showing the parents being uncaring or have a Toy Story 2-like montage of Mary in the orphanage. But just mentioning those things is not enough to get us to feel anything. Hell, I barely know those two. Bruno has no personality beyond the token fat kid, and even Smurfette has more depth than Mary. They finally get off their tails and go to put the potion in the witch's food. I still wonder how no one noticed a strange bottle in the guest soup, but whatever. Meanwhile, Grandma tries to tell Bruno's parents what happened to him. It goes as well as telling someone that their kid turned into a mouse would go.
My father hates it when I talk with my mouth full.
Don't make me wish for the part of the book where it's implied your parents drowned you. The soup is served, but the lame witch of the West finally recognized Grandma. With how she keeps staring at her, no wonder.
You were victims right here in Alabama.
Where's Bellatrix Lestrange when you need her? But the potion finally starts to affect them. Or maybe that's a bean soup rather than a pea soup. And it's chaos all around. Oh, that's it! Next year, I'm staying at that nice overlook hotel. I love that the witches actually see their friends transform into rats and then try to kill them anyway. And a doctor. Since the kids got the key to the Grand Witch's room, in case you have forgotten, they go to get the rest of the potions, but it turns out that Baba Gaga has not eaten any soup.
What you make me do?
You know, you really should look into some anger management therapy. The actual Grand High Witch had a temper as well, but even she knew how to appreciate nice things.
Oh, your butt ugly witch talk don't scare me one bit.
You're a regular Mad Max, aren't you?
The last thing you'll ever see is my snickering face.
I think someone gave you one of the children's lines by mistake. As for you, Arya Stark did it better. The kids pull a Tom and Jerry gig and literally shove the potion down her throat. It's not like this movie has any dignity to lose. Somehow I stand corrected. Hello, Grandma, a little help here? Thank you. They hit the jackpot. Literally. And also get a book with the names of all the witches in the world.
We can turn every witch in the world into rats.
Who cares about the book? We're rich! As for the Witch Queen Bee, of course the movie doesn't have the cajones to properly kill her. Why do you think they gave her a pet cat after all?
Hades, precious!
Guess the name Lucifer was already taken. They go back home and it's a happy ending for everyone. Actually, a little too happy. Haha, nice roller coaster, right?
Never give up what you are inside.
How long does a mouse live?
3 times longer than an ordinary mouse.
Oh gee, I wonder why it isn't as touching as in the book. And that's not all. This movie is absolutely determined to make this ending as sad and as ridiculous as possible. How, you may ask? Take a look at this. I have a better ending. For all the performances, talent, and scenarios, The Witches is either bland or annoying. In this attempt to be lighter and more family-friendly, it dilutes the source material until it's a pale imitation of what it should be. The people who loved The Witches love it because of the darker aspects, the strong moments, and because the villain was an actual threat. This made the ending matter. Besides Octavia Spencer, who managed to work with a mediocre writing, there's not a single character who is remotely likable. Even the kids are a pain. The writers are trying so hard to relate to a younger audience that they completely forgot how to, actually make the characters relatable. And the witches just can't be regarded as actual villains. You could put them in a Care Bears movie and they would still be too pathetic. Again, the Grand High Witch sucks. Plain and simple. She's not scary, she's not funny. The only moment when she was at least a little bit creepy was during that flashback. That's not a good sign. How are we supposed to root for the characters when they are up against something that doesn't seem at all threatening? If you want to make a safe movie, you know, something with no depth, no emotional impact, and that gives nothing worthwhile to anyone in the audience, then pick another sort of story. There has been controversy enough with that publisher house that he wrote parts of those books in order to make them safer and nicer. Gee, why should we treat people as if they are thinking creatures? Clearly, any child reading this book will become an adult that discriminates against women who wear gloves or wigs. And why teach children anything when we can just coddle them? This sort of thing makes me scared for the people who want to write children's stories someday. Or any story, really. Can you imagine it? Oh no, you just can't write your character being in actual danger. Oh no, you can't write a villain who looks weird or deformed. Oh, you can't write your character being hurt. It doesn't matter if it should be a dark fantasy. Give me a break, okay? For starters, being oversensitive won't make the world a safer or a better place. While some people spend their lives whining, many others try to actually do something about it. Angel's stories? Read them. The ones that stay with you, as some wise would say. I would like to leave everyone with a particular quote. Fairy tales do not give the child his first idea of a bogey. What fairy tales give the child is his first clear idea of the possible defeat of a bogey. The baby has known the dragon intimately ever since he had an imagination. What the fairy tale provides for him is a Saint George to kill the dragon. J.K. Chesterton, Tremendous Trifles, Book 17, The Red Angel. That's it for today's session. Thanks so much for joining me. See you the next time, everyone. Stay safe.